I'm out here at gun sight with my good friend Dave Royer. He acts as an AI for me when I'm out here on the West Coast training. And there's one topic he has brought up, which is a really good one. We want to talk to you about it on the show. It kind of falls under the category of a firearms training myth. Dave?
Well, nothing generates more conversation during our training sessions than should we do during a reload a slide lock, slide release with the thumb, or a slingshot. And the common conversation is, well, we're taught the slingshot because it's a universal system for any gun. And both you and I cut our teeth on the slide release with the thumb. So what's your take on that it's a universal system, or is there one better than the other?
My opinion and what I teach is there is no one-size-fits-all technique. If you're running guns like Glocks or Smith & Wesson M&Ps, by all means you can use the slingshot, drive on, good to go. It's when you switch to other guns like the M9 Beretta where you can potentially run into problems with the slingshot technique, because it's not uncommon under conditions of stress for the average shooter to decock the gun. When he reloads, comes back up on target, now has a dead trigger. You know, there is, in my opinion, like I said, no true one-size-fits-all technique. There is one technique that I'm really not a fan of, and I kind of discourage people from, and that is releasing it for a right-handed shooter, releasing the slide with the strong hand thumb. Shooters have a tendency to leave their thumb on top of the slide release. They don't move it out of the way, and then they create the training scar of the slide now does not lock to the rear on an empty mag, or they actually bump the slide release up and lock the slide to the rear in the middle of the magazine. That's the one technique that I'm not a fan of, and I would advise shooters that, one, they need to educate themselves on the three techniques, figure out which one works best for them, and learn how to run a handgun. As a matter of fact, Jeff Cooper's got a great line.
I was going to say, we're at gun sight, and he had a great line that I actually use on my website and credit him to, and it's,
you're no more a musician just because you own a guitar or musical instrument than you are a gunman because you own a handgun or a firearm. You've got to seek quality training or proper training in order to become competent with that firearm.
Well, I have a Beretta. Why don't you talk me through it so everybody can see what you're talking about between the slide release and using the slingshot, what potentially could happen.
Got it, sounds good.
All right.
All right, Dave, I'm going to talk you through this slingshot style reload with the M9 Beretta.
All right.
Now in this case, you've just fired your last round, slides locked to the rear. So you go ahead and go through your reload procedure. Mag drops, new mag comes up, insert, come over the top, grab the slide, release it, you come back up on target. Problem now is, if you try to fire, guess what? Dead trigger, because you've decocked the gun. Joe Average can do this under stress very, very easily. It takes the additional step for you to come up with one of the thumbs and push it back onto fire in order to make the gun go bang. That's the danger of that technique with the M9 Beretta. If this is something that an agency or an individual is going to adopt this method, they have to practice this. They have to build that additional step to make sure that the gun's on fire, or they could end up with a dead trigger.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't mind, load it back up, square it away just like you were, and I'll take you through the technique that I teach and that you also believe in. We'll show you the difference between the two.
Okay.
All right, Dave, now in this procedure, you just fired your last shot. Go ahead and go through your reload procedure. New magazine comes up. What I teach is, seat your magazine. You're gonna come up with the support hand thumb, release the slide, back on target and fire. Okay, that's the technique that I teach, kind of as a baseline for right-handed shooters. It is gun dependent. For some shooters, it may not make sense. Left-handed shooters say with a SIG, or even with a Beretta, I teach you come up with support hand thumb and release it. So, bottom line here is, you've got to educate yourself on what technique makes the best sense for you and the gun you're shooting. I teach as a baseline, as a starting point, to come up for a right-handed shooter, support hand thumb, release, and you're back on target. If for some reason that doesn't work for you, then you look at the slingshot. That's my approach, and I know you agree.
Absolutely.
Good deal.